A bombshell released from WikiLeaks as tensions grow between the Trump administration and the intelligence community. WikiLeaks said Tuesday it had published thousands of documents exposing what could be the CIA's most important cyber espionage strategies. It is calling these documents Vault 7 and claims the documents show how the CIA can break into people's smartphones, smart TVs, cars, and computers. Here's what Senator John McCain had to say about this.
If it's CIA, it's of the most greatest severity. It's a very, very serious issue. This is of the utmost serious. If they can hack into the CIA, they can hack into anybody.
Politico senior foreign affairs correspondent Michael Crowley joins me now. Michael, so Senator McCain said that this was of the utmost seriousness. In the wake of other recent leaks, is there anything particularly damaging about this document release?
Well, as I understand it, there are thousands of documents, so it's hard to say definitively what the worst part of this is and to know the totality of what's out there. And, you know, to a layperson's eyes, we might not appreciate the worst things that are in this document. CIA insiders might say, oh my God, I can't believe that got out. And a person who's not an expert may not recognize something that someone in a foreign intelligence service might recognize. But it does look like there's a lot of information here that anyone can see describes methods the CIA is using to hack all kinds of electronics, everything from TVs to cars and in between. And although I think the good news, if there is some here, is that foreign intelligence services basically know the CIA is doing a lot of this. The more specificity, the more detail that's out there showing what we're doing, the more these other rival countries of ours are able to adapt and respond and shut down these methods of communications that we're relying on for critical national security intelligence.
I'm curious what you think, though, about how feasible it is that the CIA would keep all of its secret hacking information in the same place.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I think, very frustrating because the government keeps getting burned and keeps on saying we're going to improve our practices, we're going to lock down security. You know, this goes back now to the first WikiLeaks dump, Chelsea Manning, revealing a lot of diplomatic cables back in, I think it was 2011. And now here we are 6 years out, and we've had Edward Snowden since then. And yet another instance where there was poor security. And some of the reporting I've seen shows that these documents were circulating in a pool of up to 5,000 CIA employees and contractors. That is just way too large a population of people to be having documents this sensitive. So it's an open question right now as to why security is not getting better at the highest levels of government.
So, Michael, let's talk about Russia. In a reversal from the campaign, you've reported that Kremlin-backed media is turning its back on President Trump after being supportive of him while he was running for office. Tell us more about that, and what do you think this is about?
So I've been following a Kremlin-funded, Kremlin-influenced media for many months now, and it was clear as long as a year or more ago that that Russian-backed media was essentially rooting for Donald Trump in the presidential campaign. Now, a lot of that was sort of anti-Hillary Clinton. Vladimir Putin personally disliked Clinton, and the Kremlin leadership felt like Clinton was much more confrontational toward them than Donald Trump. So there were things they liked about Donald Trump, but the coverage was very anti-Hillary in spirit, ended up being effectively pro-Donald Trump right up through the election, clearly celebrating his candidacy, but that has changed more recently.
And you've done some reporting and talking to experts about this. What might be behind this?
So what we're seeing now is as soon as Trump has come into office, the coverage is really focusing on his headaches, on his low poll numbers, the division inside the country, criticizing his policy proposals, sort of having a ball with Saturday Night Live sketches spoofing him, and the failure, the problems with the rollout of his immigration ban. And what is happening here is that Russia's highest priority in all this really is seeing America destabilized, seeing American democracy weakened, seeing chaos and division in the United States, because that really limits America's ability. It distracts us at home and limits us from acting abroad and challenging Russian priorities around the world. It really weakens America, and that is the highest priority of the Kremlin. So that is why the coverage has gone from sort of cheering on Donald Trump to cheering the chaos and division that his presidency has produced so far.
So is the audience then, Michael, the Russian people, even though we're talking about these are outlets which you can actually see here in America?
So some of these are outlets in Moscow that you can research and find information about, and especially if you have journalistic databases. A lot of it, if viewers are curious, is English language stuff that is on the internet, is actually meant to be reaching Americans. One is RT, which was formerly known as Russia Today. The other is Sputnik News. Their stories often circulate on Twitter and Facebook. I would just caution anybody reading those stories to be aware those are Kremlin-funded media outlets. They are telling a very slanted version of the story. Sometimes their facts are just wrong, but it is a fascinating window into what the Kremlin is thinking.
Yeah, it's really important to consider the source when you're looking at these stories. Finally, you wrote a fascinating piece as well about the Russian ambassador, Sergei Kislyak. Who is he, first of all? And you have an intriguing title to this piece. Russian ambassador Sergei Kislyak is Washington's most dangerous diplomat.
So Sergei Kislyak has been the Russian ambassador to Washington for almost a decade. He's really Vladimir Putin's man in Washington, and these days a man behind enemy lines given the tensions between the United States and Russia. But he is a very experienced diplomat, really respected across the spectrum, across the aisle. Both parties, they say that he is, an intelligent, cordial, smooth diplomat who has worked Washington for a long time. But he is also very much a messenger for the Kremlin line, and that is a hard line. He's very critical of the United States. And he has made the rounds in Washington trying to spread the Russian message, and in doing so has had contacts with a couple of Trump officials, actually I should say several people associated with Donald Trump, but two in particular who really now regret their interactions with him. One is Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor, who was forced out after giving incorrect, at best, misleading and false at worst accounts of his contacts with Kislyak back in December during the transition. And then, of course, more recently, Attorney General Jeff Sessions has had to recuse himself from ongoing investigations into ties between the Russia campaign, the Trump campaign, and Russia after giving testimony in his confirmation hearing in the Senate that did not give a complete account of his contacts with Kislyak. And other people in Trump's orbit have had recent meetings with the Russian ambassador. So this is a guy who has become very controversial and even radioactive, although I hasten to add, we don't know that he or these Trump people actually did anything wrong. We don't really know the details of the substance of these conversations. What's mysterious here is that people don't seem to be telling the full story of their contacts with Vladimir Putin's emissary to the United States.
Yeah, we'll continue to watch to see what additional details, if any, come out. Michael Crowley in the Politico newsroom in Arlington, Virginia. Michael, thanks.
Thank you so much.